Greetings, mortals. Welcome to Neshae Reads SCP-1250, Alternate Reality Recorder. This one was recommended to me by a dear friend who is far more well versed in the SCP Foundation than I. I mentioned doing a reading on 046 and this was the SCP the one guy was reassigned to. He clicked on the link to it and recommended I do it next. So here I go down the twisted rabbit hole of mind-shattering crack.
Object Class: Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-1250 is to be kept in a large double-lock safe, in a fireproof enclosure at site. SCP-1250's storage container is not to be opened by anyone without Level 3 clearance or higher. Instances of SCP-1250-1 and SCP-1250-2 that have been expended are to be properly labeled and filed away in a neighboring room, categorized by date, length, and content. Tapes may be reviewed freely by all permitted staff. For a full list of available recordings, please refer to Document. Researchers wishing to use blank SCP-1250-1 or SCP-1250-2 samples for experimentation must submit a formal request to Dr. Carter, with the details of the experiments in question and the required number of samples. Description: as of 20, SCP-1250 is a collection of compact audio cassette tapes and VHS tapes. SCP-1250-1 and SCP-1250-2 respectively. SCP-1250-1 and SCP-1250-2 samples are ashen in color and devoid of any form of branding or labels. Internally, they are completely indistinguishable from other tapes of similar design, and can be used via any standard audio-video recording equipment. However, SCP-1250-1 and SCP-1250-2 samples do not accurately record events. Upon playback of an SCP-1250-1 or SCP-1250-2 tape, there are notable differences between the content of captured audio-video recordings and the real-world occurrences that participants remember observing. These alterations, while inconsistent, are initially never drastic. Situations presented in recordings are largely the same, but subtle changes, differences in pronunciation, word choice, furniture present in room, gender, age of recorded individuals, are found when compared to standard recordings. In the case of SCP-1250-2, visual discrepancies will manifest in place of oral, as video samples produce no audio when reviewed. Multiple simultaneous recordings are noted to further alter proceedings, with greater numbers of SCP-1250-1 or SCP-1250-2 tapes present during a single session, resulting in more dramatic variations. The only variable consistent across all samples are the exact date, time, and location, which are 100% identical in every recording of a given event.
Is this the SCP version of Rick's goggles that let you see your life at that moment in another reality thread?
Testing has also shown that SCP-1250-1 and SCP-1250-2 samples do not appear to have any storage limit. Recording can continue indefinitely until manually stopped. Especially lengthy recordings have not been shown to exhibit a greater number of changes than shorter ones, even if a large variety of events are to occur, or the recording device were to travel a considerable distance during its duration. SCP-1250-1 and SCP-1250-2 cannot be overwritten, and all attempts to transfer data to different formats have failed. Addendum 1250-1. On February 15, 1990, a test was performed that had researchers initiate a set of 3 SCP-1250-2 and 3 standard video recordings at a singular location, and then transport a pair of each in separate directions. All 6 recordings start the same way, with no notable differences occurring until after the groups were significantly separated from one another. As a result of this event, staff now believe that alterations will not manifest in the presence of other partial recordings, and that the recorded events of an SCP-1250-1 or SCP-1250-2 sample are not written in real time. Addendum 1250-2. On April 2, 2001, Dr. staged a reenactment of an earlier SCP-1250-1 test conducted on 1990. The conditions of the control tape were recreated down to the finest detail. All involved staff reprised their roles, and repeatedly lied about the date and time of the proceedings. The SCP-1250-1 results received were not the same as those of the earlier test. Addendum 1250-3. A series of trials performed between July 2006 and November 2006 by Dr. and Dr. Carter have concluded that SCP-1250-1 and SCP-1250-2 recordings will present fewer changes when recorded in the presence of an event with an exceedingly high number of potential outcomes, particularly games of chance. Footage of gambling paraphernalia in use, cards, dice, slot machines, roulette wheels, darts, will almost never showcase alterations outside the central objects, regardless of how many additional samples are used to record. Addendum 1250-4. SCP-1250-2 testing has been put on indefinite hiatus. Please see experiment logs 1250-A and 1250-B for more details.
Okay, I had to cheat slightly with this one. Every time there is a redaction I use a sound effect, as you guys have noticed by now. Where this complicates things is it breaks up the audio file regardless of whether I speak out loud or use narrator's voice. This next part has a lot of redactions. So many, in fact, that I just can't do that. I cannot spend that much time copying that many little strips of text to that many little voice files. I just can't. So for the sake of my last 3 brain cells, I'm just changing the names for the audio and every date is Halloween. I'll keep it as is for the captions, but I have to break here. This is where I draw my line in corner cutting. Jesus H. Christ eating a frozen waffle with a kangaroo in a swimming pool of jelly beans wearing sunglasses.
Experiment log 1250-A audio recordings. Note: please be sure to include your name, the date, and duration of the recording on all records. Name: Dr. Tran. Date: October 31st, 1562. Duration: 2 minutes, 47 seconds. Dr. Tran is heard reciting an adaptation of the poem Der Erlkönig by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Control tape. Dr. Tran reads the poem in its entirety. SCP-1250-1 tape. The poem is read in its native German by an unidentified voice. Name: Dr. Edwards. Date: October 31st, 1562. Duration: 26 minutes, 19 seconds. A television in the background plays a syndicated episode of the popular children's show, Gravity Floats. Control tape. The episode follows a character named Billy as he helps a close friend plan an important birthday party. SCP-1250-1 tape. This episode follows the same Billy attempting to try out for the school basketball team. Curiously, there are no commercial breaks, and a portion of the same episode plays again before the tape is stopped. Name: Dr. Tran. Date: October 31st, 1562. Duration: 14 seconds. Dr. Tran introduces himself by saying, "Hello, I'm Cornholio Tran. It's a pleasure to meet you." Control tape. Dr. Tran says the above greeting. SCP-1250-1 Tape 1. A female voice says the greeting. The first name is replaced with Emily instead of Cornholio. SCP-1250-1 Tape 2. A series of loud beeps and clicks play for the duration of the recording. There is no recognizable pattern. SCP-1250-1 Tape 3. Dr. Tran is heard attempting to say the greeting. He sounds very weak, and takes several labored breaths after every few words. He does not finish the greeting before the recording ends. SCP-1250-1 Tape 4. 2 separate voices say the greeting. They are very stoic, and they speak in perfect unison. Neither voice can be identified as that of Dr. Tran. SCP-1250-1 Tape 5. The tape sounds as though it is immersed in water. A light tapping can be heard somewhere nearby. SCP-1250-1 Tape 6. A crowd of people can be heard murmuring in the room. All of the voices appear to be uttering the greeting, though it isn't possible to tell if Dr. Tran is among them. SCP-1250-1 Tape 7. Dr. Tran is heard counting down from 14, reaching 0 just as the recording ends. SCP-1250-1 Tape 8. The tape is entirely silent for the 14-second duration. Name: Dr. House, with Dr. Tran monitoring. Date: October 31st, 1562. Duration: 8 minutes, 4 seconds. Dr. House interviews Mr. Dark. Several times during the interview, Dr. House will randomly hold up a card with a simple drawing on it, and ask Mr. Dark to describe what he sees. A total of 7 cards were held up during the course of the interview. It's important to note that aside from the card results, both interviews were the same. Control tape. Mr. Dark's responses to the image cards: cat, airplane, flower, barn, teddy bear, horse, apple. SCP-1250-1 Tape. Mr. Dark's responses to the image cards: pencil, window, swan, tree, airplane, bus, moon. All responses given were for cards that did exist in the deck. Name: Dr. Edwards, with Dr. Pepper performing. Date: October 31st, 1562. Duration: 11 minutes, 2 seconds. Dr. Pepper was asked to play Moonlight Sonata on an old grand piano. He has very little experience playing the instrument. Control tape. Dr. Pepper hits several bum notes, and reattempts several sections of the song to correct mistakes. He politely asks to stop playing after attempting for over 10 minutes, and the recording is ceased by Dr. Edwards. SCP-1250-1 Tape 1. Dr. Pepper handles the instrument flawlessly, playing with considerable grace, and receives a roaring applause from the other researchers present. In the place of Moonlight Sonata, the song played by Dr. Pepper is unknown. SCP-1250-1 Tape 2. A single note is played in 2-second intervals until 9 minutes and 9 seconds. No other sounds can be heard for the remainder of the recording. Name: Dr. Carter. Date: October 31st, 1562. Duration: 8 minutes, 6 seconds. Dr. Carter calmly asks questions regarding the nature of SCP-1250, SCP-1250-1, and SCP-1250-2. Control tape. Dr. Carter asks the aforementioned questions. SCP-1250-1 Tape 1. Dr. Carter can be heard talking, though he is very muffled, almost as if he were speaking from the other side of a wall. The nature of his speech is entirely indecipherable. SCP-1250-1 Tape 2. A loud, atonal screeching emanates from the tape for the entire duration of the recording. Name: Dr. Tran. Date: October 31st, 1562. Duration: 45 minutes and 3 seconds. 3 tapes were left to record an empty room for 45 minutes. Control tape. Dr. Tran is heard exiting the room as the recording begins. Apart from a nearby door being closed at 27 minutes and 1 second, the recording is entirely silent until Dr. Tran's return at 44 minutes and 51 seconds to end the recording. SCP-1250-1 Tape 1. Dr. Tran is heard exiting the room as the recording begins. Infrequently, a light shuffling can be heard to the direct left. At 5 minutes and 2 seconds, heavy, deliberate footsteps are slowly heard approaching from the left and continuing on past the empty room to the right. They can no longer be heard at 24 minutes and 44 seconds, and the shuffling ceases at this point. Dr. Tran re-enters the room at 45 minutes and 16 seconds to end the recording. SCP-1250-1 Tape Two. Dr. Tran is heard exiting the room as the recording begins. At 13 minutes and 8 seconds, a loud crash is heard coming from the right. Another loud crash occurs at 16 minutes and 2 seconds, and an even louder one at 19 minutes and 17 seconds. Something begins pounding on the wall in the hall outside the empty room at 26 minutes and 20 seconds and continues to do so with a consistent intensity. The door to the empty room is heard being torn from the frame at 44 minutes and 10 seconds as something proceeds to thrash it around the room. The tape cuts off at 45 minutes and 3 seconds. Experiment Log 1250-B Video Recordings. Note: please be sure to include your name, the date, and duration of the recording on all records. Due to the omission of audio by SCP-1250-2 video samples, all descriptions provided should cover only what is seen during the control tapes, not what is heard. Name: Dr. Love and Drive Mario. Date: October 31st, 1562. Duration: 43 seconds. Dr. Love pitches a baseball to Dr. Mario from a distance of 15 meters. Control tape: Dr. Mario's bat is seen making contact with the ball, sending the ball flying far past the view of the camera. Dr. Love claps in response to the home run. SCP-1250-2 Tape. Dr. Love is seen stifling a cough, delaying the pitch by 4 seconds. Dr. Mario's bat is seen making contact with the ball, resulting in a foul. Name: Dr. Tran. Date: October 31st, 1562. Duration: 2 hours, 16 minutes, 25 seconds. 3 cameras were pointed at a television playing the contents of another SCP-1250-2 sample. The contents of the sample included a trombone. Control tape: the contents of the original SCP-1250-2 sample are seen clearly on the screen. SCP-1250-2 Tape 1. The tape came out blank, having recorded no material. SCP-1250-2 Tape 2. The tape came out blank, having recorded no material. Name: Dr. Watson and Drive Holmes. Date: October 31st, 1562. Duration: 13 minutes, 24 seconds. 2 cameras were set on a small table in the middle of a large concrete room, facing in opposite directions. Control tape: the room remains empty, and nothing occurs for the entire duration of the film. SCP-1250-2 Tape. A series of empty cans are thrown from behind the camera toward the wall by an unseen individual. This action persists for the entire duration of the recording. Name: Dr. Carter. Date: October 31st, 1562. Duration: 7 seconds. Dr. Carter set up a group of 13 cameras to record him rolling a pair of 6-sided dice. Control tape: dice result: 11. SCP-1250-2 Tape 1. Dice result: 3. SCP-1250-2 Tape 2. Dice result: 9. SCP-1250-2 Tape 3. Dice result: 16. SCP-1250-2 Tape 4. Dice result: 5. SCP-1250-2 Tape 5. Dice result: 108. SCP-1250-2 Tape 6. Dice result:
The is that
SCP-1250-2 Tape 7. Dice result: 4. SCP-1250-2 Tape 8. Dice result: 0.
how
SCP-1250-2 Tape 9. Dice result: 7. SCP-1250-2 Tape 10. Dice result: 3/4.
I want those dice.
SCP-1250-2 Tape 11. Dice results 2. SCP-1250-2 Tape 12. Dice results. Banana. Name: Agent Honeydew, with Dr. Carter and Dr. Tran monitoring. Date: October 31st, 1562. Duration: 23 seconds. Agent Honeydew was asked to fire 3 shots at personnel D32907 using his M9, from a distance of 22.5 meters. The agent was also asked to intentionally try and avoid hitting D32907-1 during the experiment, though this information was not shared with the subject. Control tape. The first 2 shots miss the subject. The third strikes him directly in the right shoulder, the subject clutching at the wound and reeling in pain before the recording ends. SCP-1250-2 Tape 1. All 3 shots miss the subject without incident. SCP-1250-2 Tape 2. All 3 shots contact with the subject's chest and abdomen, knocking them to the floor. SCP-1250-2 Tape 3. Agent Honeydew is seen standing directly behind D32907, with his firearm pressed against the backside of the subject's head. He fires a single shot, killing the subject instantly, and stares at the camera for the remainder of the recording. SCP-1250-2 Tape 4. D32907 is replaced with a specimen of rad scorpion. Agent Honeydew is killed during the ensuing conflict. Name: Dr. Tran. Date: October 31st, 1562. Duration: 9 hours, 14 minutes, 36 seconds. 4 cameras were left overnight in front of a television blaring static. Control tape. The static is consistently seen for the duration of the tape. SCP-1250-2 Tape 1. In place of the static, stock footage of spiders is seen. The majority of the footage focuses on the spiders capturing and eating prey. SCP-1250-2 Tape 2. In place of the static, black and white footage of a deceased elderly man is seen. He sits slumped in a chair next to an ornate lamp, in a room devoid of any other furniture. At 5 minutes and 6 seconds his body begins falling to pieces, starting from the top down. This process is subtle at first, as it takes up until 9 hours and 12 minutes to fully complete and is more easily observed when the footage is sped up. SCP-1250-2 Tape 3. The television is off, and a lamp behind the camera can be seen in the television's reflection. A silhouetted figure is seen passing through the reflection on occasion. Name: Dr. Tran. Date: October 31st, 1562. Duration: 6 hours, 28 minutes, 38 seconds. 6 cameras recorded several minutes of a Little League baseball game in Aberdeen, Maryland. Control tape. Children play Little League baseball. One team wears light blue jerseys while the other team wears yellow jerseys. SCP-1250-2 Tape 1. Identical to Control, except that a particular player wears the uniform number 8 instead of 6 per the Control recording. SCP-1250-2 Tape 2. Identical to Control, except that a female spectator to the game has been replaced by Lana Neal. SCP-1250-2 Tape 3. Identical to Control, except that the position and orientation of the shadows of objects shown in the recording suggests the presence of more than one sun-like source of illumination. SCP-1250-2 Tape 4. Rules of game appear to have changed. Pitcher and fielding team seem to be throwing the ball at the batter's head with intent to injure, following which the batter chases the pitcher around the field, attempting to beat him with the bat. Umpire, coaches and spectators appear to regard this behavior as normal. SCP-1250-2 Tape 5. Identical to Control, except that game participants and spectators appear to be reciting a prayer to Dog, Slavic pagan sun god, in the Old Church Slavonic language while playing. Name: Dr. Tran with Sheldon. Date: October 31st, 1562. Duration: 1 hour, 12 minutes, 1 second. 24 hours prior to this experiment, Dr. Tran was the victim of an unfortunate car crash, and was rushed to Medical Medicine Hospital, under Foundation custody. Dr. Tran had previously asked to have his final moments captured on tape by SCP-1250-2, in the event of a fatal injury or terminal illness. Control tape. Dr. Tran remains motionless in his hospital bed for the duration of the recording. Nurses are seen rushing in at 43 minutes and 5 seconds in response to his heart monitor flatlining. Despite their best efforts, Dr. Tran's heartbeat is not restored, and he is pronounced deceased at 1 hour, 9 minutes, and 15 seconds. SCP-1250-2 Tape. Dr. Tran is conscious during the initial portions of the recording, and is seen discussing something with one of the nurses before she exits the room at 25 minutes and 54 seconds. Dr. Carter is seen walking into frame at 43 minutes and 5 seconds, and quickly proceeds to smother his colleague with a nearby pillow. Dr. Tran struggles against the attempted suffocation, but he is easily overpowered by Carter, and falls still at 1 hour, 9 minutes, and 15 seconds. Dr. Carter exits the room following the confrontation, and is not seen for the remainder of the recording. Following the events of the above experiment, the project has been handed over to Dr. Carter. He has requested that no further SCP-1250-2 experimentation be performed for the time being.
Dude. That's pretty up.